Welcome back to the Orca Boat Shop. I'm Rod. So I'm working on a few boat projects in the last few weeks. What with the shutdown, COVID-19, staying at home, little isolation, which really isn't much of a change for me anyways, working from home in a small shop by myself. But I just ordered in a riser block extension for my bandsaw. I've had this bandsaw for about 20 years. It's one of the first major pieces of equipment I bought when I started my business over 20 years ago. It served me very well. It works really well. I don't do a lot of major resawing of heavy-duty lumber like oak or maple or anything like that, 2-inch thick, 8 inches wide. However, it's only got a maximum height of about 6 to 6.5 inches of resaw. And it's, it served me well over the years. But I figured it's about time to add a riser block so that we can get and cut thicker pieces of wood up to about 10 inches high. So I've ordered in the riser kit block from King Canada, and I'm about to install today, so let's get to it. So let's start by just opening the box, seeing what instructions and parts come with it. So this will be the actual riser block that will extend the height of the top portion of the bandsaw. Got an extended guide. This guide is covering the blade as it comes up and around. This will extend it a bit higher. They do provide a bandsaw blade in the kit, although it really is just a 3/8 wide blade. For resawing we'll use a bit bigger, or we'll use a much wider blade than that. On the back of the bandsaw there is the metal post here to which guard and guide slide up and down in, so we have a longer extension here, and because the guide will come down further, this piece here will have an extension piece as well. So the first step, of course, is going to be remove parts that are not necessary now. I can take the fence apart. I can take out the blade just by reducing the tension. And remove the guide from the up portion, trying not to lose any pieces. So this guide will be replaced with the longer. And that's still a pretty good blade, so I'll likely just keep that blade in case I ever find the need to take the riser block off. So next I'll need to remove is this portion of the bandsaw to replace this post and this guard. So we can start by just loosening off this nut here. The post will come directly off. You can remove the guard from this block as well. So the bolts don't need to come directly out. This one just has slots which slides into. And now if I loosen this, should be able to take this block right out. But I'll be able to do that when I remove this top portion and extend the height. Before removing the overhead arm here, which will be a little bit heavy, I need to get access to a bolt that's in here. There's a shorter bolt that goes through the block and is bolted underneath here. So I think I'll just remove the switch box. So it appears what's holding this cover in is this little extended nut to which the blade guard attaches to. Or take it out so I can get at the nut down here. So with that cover, I now have access to a very dusty compartment whereby I have access to this short bolt that is holding the upper arm in place. So time to get out the big guns. I bought this set of sockets a lot of years ago when I needed to replace the bearings in my truck. So this is a little overkill, but I'm sure we'll have a socket large enough to fit that nut. Well, this may seem like serious overkill, but it's the only tool that can fit into there. Enough. Just loosen up that nut. So with the nut loose, you can just slide it out. Then we can lift the arm off the top and add the extension. I can now place the riser block in, and there are pins here which will line it up. And there's pins on top for the overhead arm to attach to. Okay, time to put the upper arm in. Holes lining up. It really is a three-person job here because I need to be able to hold it up, but also try and get the nuts on the bolts. So I'm going to try to just hold that in place enough so that I can get the nut and washer started underneath. Alright, that's tight enough that it's not going to drop on me. Now I'll be able to go back and tighten up that nut and bolt on the bottom. Go ahead and replace this cover back in, which is this nut up here, lining up inside there. Holds the card in place on the upside. Then we can replace the switch box, which now gets attached to the riser block here. Now there was a clip in here that held these two wires to this cover up here. That's not going to be of any use to me now, but I need the screw. And probably will need some sort of washer in here to hold this in. Or we can just use the existing clip here, just so it doesn't get misplaced if I ever want to remove the riser block. Okay, I can replace this bar with the longer bar. I have to be careful doing this because what's inside here to hold this bar sort of in the position without rotating is a ball bearing set into a spring with a hex nut in there. So the simplest thing to do is, without having to take that out, is going to be to push these two in at the same time, and the ball bearing pops right into place on the new one. Then I can add in the bearing guides. Now, this bandsaw came with bearing guides. I'm not a big fan of them. They still spin, but you know, this is an area where the ball bearings and dust just are enemies of each other, in that over the course of the last 20 years I've probably replaced all of these bearings 5 or 6 times. I have a whole bunch of them down in a box just in case, because if these don't rotate, cleanly and I try not to put too much in the way of, you know, WD-40 or grease in there. I mean, I will every occasionally to make sure they're still clean in there, but I just didn't want, you know, the silicone that is in WD-40 getting onto wood that I need to glue and or paint, because silicone in your shop gets in the air and prevents adhesion of paints. It's really a nasty contaminant. Time to put in a new blade. The only one I have in this length is the one they provided, 3/8 wide. So we slide it in the slot, bring it up and around. A bit of a tighten so it doesn't come off on me. And then work on centering the blade on the wheel. Seems to be actually pretty good right there. Give it a bit more tight. Knob back, so what we're basically doing with one of these knobs here is setting the pitch on the upper wheel facing backwards will cause the blade to ride off the back, forward will cause it to ride off the forward. So once it's good and tight and it's riding where we want, we'll tighten up a bit. We'll spin here, see what happens. Now we've got it rubbing on somewhere, and the last piece to go in will be the guard on the rear portion. Pretty straightforward. That's protecting the blade. Close this up. Close that up, and I think we're ready to give it a go. And as always, thank you very much for tuning in. Hey, maybe hit that like button, hit the bell button so you're notified of any future videos if you're becoming a subscriber. Thank you very much for watching.